Suzanne Hacker here, your vacation rental business coach with Welcoming Wow. And I am here today with Melissa with HOSTHELPR. And Melissa, we are looking forward to finding out all there is to know about HOSTHELPR today. But if you could introduce yourself first and then introduce HOSTHELPR and the concept behind it.
Thank you so much. So I am Melissa Andrews, and I think what's important to know about me is that, like many hosts, my primary job, my W-2, was in something else for many years. And I was a host for 6 years, superhost, all the right metrics, had 3 to 4 properties that really I managed most of them myself. For the bulk of it, my teenage son was my cleaning crew. I think it was great. It taught him a lot of responsibility. But we really did a lot of it by ourselves in the beginning, and then towards the end, I started bringing in more help. So my background is in hosting, and then about a year ago, I switched gears and I decided to be on the service provider side. And I was like, I'm gonna create this cool thing, and I'm gonna advertise this project to host where we connect hosts to local artists. And on my experience of like switching sides, I realized how hard it was to market to hosts. And so I just had this aha moment of like, here, I've been a host for years. I totally know how isolating it is. You're figuring it out on your own. You're like finding some YouTube channels. You're like going to all these places to try to figure out what you should be doing. And then I was on the service provider side, and I have this awesome free thing to give to hosts, original art in your listing, and I could, but it was going to be really hard to launch it. And I wanted a central hub for the industry where we could exchange ideas, where we could exchange information. And so what ended up coming was the concept of HOSTHELPR. So where hosts and helpers come together. And HOSTHELPR, we're a couple months old. We originally started in Austin, Texas, because that's where I live, to work through the kinks. We're now expanding, and we are, I would say the vision for HOSTHELPR is to help grow this industry, to help innovation in this industry through community. Right? We are truly a neutral marketplace where any service provider, you provide any service for hosts. You're an interior designer, you're a co-host, you're a content writer, you're a cleaner, you're, lawn maintenance, all the different things for those businesses. It's a place for them to get their work out in front of hosts, share the value you can offer, and promote your business. And then for hosts, it's a place for you to see, like not only just like search on the internet for 10 tips, but also like actually engage with people. You can go to HOSTHELPR. There are helpers who are offering free consulting calls, introductory webinars, introductory courses. You can get to know them as service providers, and then y'all do your thing. So this is the last thing I'll say in terms of introducing HOSTHELPR is that there are a lot of platforms out there that are what we call a managed marketplace, where like a Turnover B&B, for example, is one we're familiar with. Like they have the cleaners and the hosts, and they manage the relationship. I really want HOSTHELPR to be a place where people meet. It's a town square where people meet. You decide who's good, and you go off and you have the relationship you like. So yeah, it's a network for our industry, based in community, based in innovation, but really a place to find help or find hosts.
All right, community and connections. Sounds like the biggest thing. And what's the name of the neutral country that you're similar to then?
Wait, the neutral what?
The country that's neutral. So you're all about neutrality.
Yeah. We're the neutral center. People confuse it because they think we're a property manager, or we're we actually we're not a property manager. We bring a lot of property managers to the platform. We don't teach courses, but we bring a lot of people who teach courses to the platform. Sure. So we're Switzerland of the short-term industry.
There you go. I like it.
Yeah.
The Switzerland of the short-term rental industry. Awesome. So how can vacation rental hosts find you? What's the best way for them to find you?
Yeah, the best way is HostHelper.com. And I have to work with this. It's HostHelper spelled in a trendy way. So helper is HELPR.com.
Okay.
I'm trying to get the correct spelling, but they won't. No one can find the owner.
We'll stick with trendy then.
Yeah, so it's the trendy HostHelper.com. Awesome. And it's you don't have to sign up to look around to get what you want. There's a content library. Pretty much everything you could want is there just for visiting. If you do sign up, you start to see the contact information and, some doors open. You start, you get these credits that you can spend on special offers, things like that, but you don't have to sign up to get a gist of what HostHelper does.
Yeah, and everyone, whether it's a service provider, an artist, a property manager, all of the different service providers and hosts all go to the same place, correct?
That's right, they do. And
okay.
And what would happen is there's a sort of obvious place where you either register as a host or you register as a helper. I just want to say, I know that a lot of us are both. There's a lot of people that got into service provider because they were hosts. So you can be both. But I would just say start with one, and then you can add the other one on. Sure. And for example, if you're a property manager, you might go to HostHelper and be like, am I a host or am I a helper? Well, if you're trying to get new clients, that's when you're a helper, right? If you're trying to attract more hosts. But there might be days that you act more like a host because maybe you have a new property in a town where you need a cleaner. So there are going to be some people, like our industry, it's not always host or helper.
Right, I agree.
Sometimes it's blurry. So.
Sure, I like it. Thanks for clearing that up too for anybody who might
absolutely
wonder, like, okay, where do I fit?
Yeah,
you might fit in both, but pick one to start.
Yeah, that's how we have it right now. Obviously, open to feedback if anyone has a great idea of like.
I got you.
But right now,
this is still young.
Start with one, and you can flip back and forth really easily.
Sure. So since you were previously a host, manager, owner, whatever of vacation rentals, I'm sure you have a bit of advice for vacation rental owners out there. So what would be your two best pieces of advice for, let's say, somebody who's starting out in the industry and is like, oh my gosh, I mean, other than going to HostHelper to help them get started?
Well,
what was your best piece of advice?
I would say, my best advice is very similar to the advice of anyone opening a business. And it's like realizing that you are running a business, but you get to decide how you want to run the business. You do not have to make your property the same as everybody else's. Some people are they're going to say professional is, meets a certain standard. You might be renting a back house in your yard where you actually want to meet the person. You have to decide for yourself. You do not have to do what everyone else does. Most people have an automated lock system. Those are great. You should totally get one. But if it's in your backyard, you might actually prefer to meet people. doesn't get done very often, but it's okay for you to decide to do it your own way. And in the end, it's that's what's going to make your rental unique, is how you approach it. So what I would say is look to what other people are doing, but you decide what's best for you.
Sure.
And then based on that, you're going to assemble your team.
Sure.
And your team might be your spouse. And it could be that they're helping you. It could be that they're just making dinner for you while you occasionally take care of something. But I think we approach it like it's a solo expedition. And it will, I promise you, it will end up being a team effort of some sort. Within your family, you're gonna need, if it's not in your backyard, you're gonna need some boots on the ground. You're gonna need some backup boots on the ground. And building that team is what makes this all possible, I think. So obviously, I think HostHelper is a great place to help you build your team.
Yeah.
But I think as people start to get overwhelmed, what we see, we call it the arc of like entering this world, they tend to think it's going to be easier than it is. So they tend to assume they can do it by themselves.
Sure.
And you can do most of it by yourself.
Yeah.
But this pain point happens when people realize they need a team and they don't have it put together. Maybe they didn't budget for a team, right? That's a pain point. So I think just really early on knowing that you're going to need to build a team. But I would say, here's a piece of sort of controversial advice that not everyone would give. I would say know how to do something before you outsource it.
Yep.
Like, you should have cleaned it 10 times before you hire a cleaner. The rule of thumb, right? Because
it's helpful.
If you can. If it's in another state, you won't be able to. But it's doing that thing several times, that gives you the expertise to be able to oversee someone else doing it.
Right.
And then it doesn't need to be you after that.
Right.
Because you will have already fixed some of the things.
It's all the various pieces of the business that
get third piece of advice, get sturdy beds, ideally ones that you don't have to clean under, that have like wraparound.
Cute.
Okay, sorry, lots of advice.
That's okay. No, I agree. Especially especially when COVID happened, and I had, was running the vacation rental business during COVID, and you were so conscious and worried, about germs and making sure that everything was clean. And it was at that point that I'm like, all right, next any beds, frames and stuff, for me, they have to be able to be wiped. You're not going to have the fabric, on the back if you can help it. Everything all the surfaces should be easy to wipe so that you can make sure that it's super clean. So, you learn along the way all these little details, right?
About like how to keep things clean, like little tiny details like side tables not having drawers.
Yeah.
It's a little detail, but people put things in those drawers and they always forget them.
Good point.
And if you have a side table that is open shelf, it's easier to clean. People don't forget things in them. We've had people forget their firearms in a side table.
Right?
Things happen. Yeah. And then your cleaner, she's not going to come in and check every drawer.
I know.
So,
unfortunately, even though I'm always like, check the drawers, and check to make sure the TVs work, and it's still, things are going to get missed. They're just going to. No matter what checklist you have, they're just check. It's going to happen. So
that's true.
That's good advice as far as the open drawers and shelves and things like that too. For me, it seems to be people like to leave their socks. I'm not sure why, but fortunately I haven't run into the firearm yet. But I have heard of those.
I don't think I'll ever have a side table with a drawer again after that.
All right. That is good advice for people. All right, try not to have drawers or you might find a firearm in them. Nice, I like it. All right, so So you started HostHelper a couple months ago. Could you tell us a little bit about your big vision for HostHelper?
Yeah. So my vision for HostHelper is that it is used everywhere that there are hosts. I think, and I've talked to people. I have some business relationships with hosts and communities in Greece, in the Philippines, in Portugal, and in Brazil. And in all these places, hosts feel like hosts are scrambling to get resources they need. And I've actually, there's some research out there that says the short-term rental industry is the largest cottage industry in the world. Worldwide, 70% of hosts manage one property, and they are figuring it out on their own. So I think we can have HostHelper can be as big as that problem is.
Sure.
But the day-to-day experience that most helpers are going to have on HostHelper is going to be a pretty localized one. Who's in my community? Who got good reviews? Or someone nearby me just got their place designed by this person who did a virtual design consult. What's that?
Sure.
I think the experience of most hosts will be pretty personal and pretty local. And what I see, and this is sort of meta, is that the industry can start growing in new ways. Right now, I would say our industry is a little top heavy. And by that I mean we've got big companies, big tech companies that help us. Very important that we have Vrbo and Airbnb and all of our PMSs, and they are really making the industry possible, but they're also directing traffic. And I think there's a lot of potential for us to grow the industry through local connections, right? Like the idea I bring up is imagine if every short-term rental had the work of local artists in it.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And instead of seeing Hobby Lobby or, a sepia horse or a cactus, every short-term rental in Texas has a picture of a cactus that was bought from Target. It's fine, but it could be a local artist, and how much more would guests like that?
Right.
And there are this is one type of innovation, but every day I talk to service providers who have cool ideas for how the short-term rental industry could be embedded in community. Helping the neighbors could be part of problem solving. And I think when we come together, what we're going to see is that a lot of good ideas start to come up that currently you can't get through because there's no Switzerland for a short-term rental, right?
Right.
The industry is so top heavy, you have to have a tech company to get any traction. But when small businesses start pushing this industry forward, I think we're going to see a healthier industry, a more profitable industry, an industry that doesn't get so much bad press, right? So I think engaging local communities, in the short term, it helps us all make more money, right? I am a host, I need helpers need hosts. Helps all of our businesses succeed. But I think by enriching the soil and the root system of our industry, we could make it grow in a much healthier, sustainable way.
Sure.
And maybe that's a little more big picture than you were thinking, but that's really,
I love big picture.
That's really where I want it to go, and I think it's possible.
No, I love big picture. I'm a big picture kind of person. I want to kind of see the end so that then I can figure out the steps that we have to take to get to the end. So that's what I love. I want to hear big picture stories from companies like yours and others. So what is one thing that maybe we haven't talked about yet that you really want people to know about HostHelper?
I think, let's see, one thing. I think one thing that I'm thinking of right now is if you are in this industry and you have a good idea, for something that could happen. Like, imagine Host Helper already was like huge, right? And you could bring your idea out and thousands of hosts would see it. I always sort of want to make a call to action to those people to bring their ideas now. Reach out to me, reach out to our content person. If we can start generating this energy of innovation and sustainability now. We are doing special relationships with people who have good content. You can reach out to us. We'll feature content. If you have a program, an event, a course, we can help get these things that you would be doing anyway. We can help get them in front of hosts for you.
Sure.
And so I would say if you are on the service provider side with a good idea, a good service, reach out for collaboration.
Awesome. And in the kind of the same vein, on the other side, if there are hosts that are maybe looking for something specific that they're not really finding, what's the best way then for them to go like, hey, excuse me, do you have something like this in your back pocket, or we just don't know about it yet?
Yeah, so right now we have a good selection of virtual help, like people who help with marketing or maybe web design, co-hosting. We have a good selection of that type of service provider already on the site today.
Okay.
In terms of local boots on the ground services, cleaners, plumbers, cutting the grass, right now we only have those in Austin and a few surrounding in the greater Austin area.
Okay.
It's March of 2023, depending on when you're watching this.
Right.
We'll be expanding. Yeah. And so what I would say to answer your question, if you're a host out in Austin, just get on HostHelper. It's good. Come on, we're ready.
Sure.
If you're a host that needs some local services outside of Austin, then in March of 2023, we don't have the services up and ready. But if you reach out to us, we can make that happen. We have ways.
Awesome.
And part of it is like figuring out, this is where we are just in terms of a business, is figuring out where is there energy to grow this. Like we knew Austin was going to be.
Where's our next city?
Where's our next city? And who wants to, because we can't lead that pull from Austin. We need people who, like, so if you're a host in Tucson and you're like, Tucson needs this, we need roots in Tucson or Vancouver or, wherever you are where you feel like this is a solution that would serve us. That's where we are as a company. If you're watching this in March of 2024, just go on HostHelper. It's there waiting for you.
Nice. I like it. So we're going to be checking back in March of 2024 and have another follow-up interview with you and be like, okay, how's it going?
Right.
What cities are you in? Let's go follow up. Now, hopefully we'll be doing a follow-up even before then. It's been a pleasure talking to you and getting to know you. And I will make sure and follow up with you as we get questions and stuff from people, because I know they're going to be.
I'm so excited for what you're doing and just appreciate the time to talk about the business, but also to talk about like what matters and why. We don't always get those questions, so thank you.
Sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.